What is going on, everybody? My name is John Solo, and welcome to the 5th official episode of the SoloRadio podcast, the #1 voted least consistent podcast in all of North America. Isn't that crazy? We finally did it. Least consistent podcast. All you got to do to get there is upload 2 videos a month, take a month and a half break, upload 2 more, take another month and a half break, and the title is yours. Not that there was an actual vote. I should clarify, I'm just goofing around. We didn't win any sort of shitty contest. I don't think they do contests like that. But that's at least how I feel in my heart about this. Because since starting the podcast, I haven't really been able to do it very consistently. Kind of my bad. And I do want to apologize for that in true John Solo fashion. Might as well start this video off with an apology for not coming through on my end of the deal. But like I said, or like I have been saying on Twitter, Facebook, and even in my videos and community posts on the channel, life has just been fucking wild. Pretty much nonstop since the back surgery. I picked a hell of a time to start the Patreon up, right? Yeah. I feel like most YouTubers, and like here's the reason why I feel the need to apologize, is that while most of you guys, when I apologize, you comment, you're like, no worries, you'll get around to it, we know you will, just focus on you, blah, blah, blah. And as much as I appreciate that, I do feel like there are other YouTubers who, if they were in my situation, like moving across the country, they probably would have vlogged it or done a little podcast or something like cool and fun for the audience. And I didn't do that at all. And I feel a little bit shitty about it because on the one hand, I think that would be really, really fun. Like, I think that would be enjoyable for you guys to just kind of see me in a different perspective. You know what I mean? Like, not just the overly produced content that I'm normally making. But and it would also add just another layer of depth to the channel where, like, I don't want this channel to feel like it's a corporate channel. I really hope it doesn't feel that way. But I also, at the same time, want it to feel professional because the content that I'm making is all, like, based on facts and nonfiction. And despite the stories I cover being all fiction, it's like there does need to be a certain amount of accuracy when I'm talking about what I'm talking about. And as a result, I'm very rigid about the content that I am making. And I feel like while that's good, while I am maintaining a consistent quality, I do think that the channel loses a certain sort of personal touch. I could be wrong about that. I am curious about what you guys think about that. But I've been thinking a lot lately about what the community, like the Solo fam, actually thinks of me. And I was kind of interested in the idea of making that into a video somehow, like the "What do you think of me" challenge, something like that, a little catchy, stupid name that maybe other people would do, because so much of YouTube is focused on your image and PR and yada yada, a bunch of things like that. And I really don't know what kind of image I'm putting out to the world outside of I'm a guy who likes to tell stories and is a very sarcastic individual. That's what I feel like my entire personality on my channel consists of. And while that's great, I'm fine with that being a thing, there is a few more layers to who I am as a person, as a human being, and I think the podcast is an excellent way of sharing that, and it's something that I need to stay consistent with and do more often. So I'm sorry for not staying true to my word. Keep feeling like I'm hearing noises, like somebody's here, but I think it's just the AC unit or central air, whatever the fuck it's called. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately is that, and I'm just sorry for not staying consistent with this as I should, as I said that I would over and over and over again. But here's the thing with where I'm at now in my life. While I am still in the middle of recovering from my back surgery, I do have to start up PT sometime soon, and there was a lot to manage on that front. I'm not moving anymore. And that was really the big thing, was like I moved, or I got the surgery, came back, made a couple videos. Lauren visited. Then when she left, I started staying consistent. I did 2 more episodes of the podcast. And then the next month, I was moving back to Illinois, and I had that to prepare for. And I don't know how many of you guys have moved. I mean, even moving like to and from your dorm room in college, like that's actually a pretty exhausting process where you don't realize how much shit you have until you have to put it all into boxes. And that was the same thing down in Florida, where my attitude when I moved down there was I had just finished reading Sebastian Junger's book called Tribe, and it's all about Native Americans and not just that, but like kind of the trials and tribulations of war and how people come together as a community during the roughest times and stuff like that. But I had this like, I hope this doesn't sound disrespectful in any way, but I had this kind of Native American attitude about moving where I only wanted to take the stuff that I needed and would enhance my life. Stuff I didn't want to buy things I wasn't going to be able to consistently use, yada yada, stuff like that. And despite maintaining that attitude, and despite only buying furniture that I could sell when I left, there was a lot to pack up when I was done. And not only that, but I have a pretty tiny car. I drive a Ford Fusion, and that's not a car you want to try to pack your entire life into. So I was in the middle of doing a lot of trips back and forth to this family condo that my family and all of our cousins share down in Florida that used to belong to my grandparents before they passed. I was doing a lot of runs over to that condo, which was a little over an hour away from my place. Packing things up, packing up the car, going there, dropping things off because my parents are actually visiting there now, but at the time they were going to be visiting there to, and my dad drives this F-350 giant truck that he can pack anything into pretty much, and they said like, yeah, leave everything that you can't fit in your car there and we'll pack it into the truck when we come down. So I was doing that, a lot of traveling around, a lot of like, my mind was just not on content production. It was about moving, and as a result, I just got distracted from the smaller parts of being a YouTuber, which was maintaining the Patreon, which I'm going to feel bad about forever until I get consistent with it, because you guys are literally giving me money to do things that I am not doing. And I fully acknowledge that I have completely botched the first several months of this Patreon. I do think I'm going to change the rewards a little bit to something that I can manage a little bit more while I'm still operating on my own, and then grow the Patreon out as I grow the SoloFam team. I just feel bad, and I feel the need to address it, and hopefully it doesn't sound like I'm making excuses, because while they are excuses, they are somewhat legitimate ones. Throughout the move, like my main 2 concerns were, I have to pack my entire life into boxes, move all this shit while still recovering from surgery, and my roommates, one of them was a little too busy to help me, and the other one just chose not to. Saw me packing these heavy ass crates into my car like over and over again, and while he did help me sell some furniture, like bring things out to people who are buying it, he pretty much just watched me carry this heavy ass shit without offering help even once. I had to ask him a couple of times here and there, and it just got like, so I wasn't in good shape. Okay, like my mind was on that. It was on moving and making sure I didn't strain anything, because I had no help at all. And yeah, the Patreon just took a back seat, I suppose. But 9 minutes into this video, almost 10, here we are, finally recording this and ready to talk about some other shit. Where was I going with all that? I think where I was going with that was I don't want you guys to have to worry about this anymore. I keep looking over at my laptop because just staring at all my video thumbnails over there. But hopefully you guys don't have to worry about that anymore, because as you may have seen on the Patreon, I want to start doing this on a weekly basis. Okay? A weekly basis. Every single week, I want to get an episode of the podcast up. And that's without any exceptions. Holidays, no matter what I'm doing, I want to find a way to do it, because it's only through that I will get better at it, and that I will eventually have the confidence to start up a messed up podcast where I talk about the messed up origins content and everything that goes into that category. And it's only through that I can actually foster some sort of community, family connection with you guys, because I wouldn't have my life without you. I owe so much to you, and it feels weird to owe your entire life to a bunch of strangers on the internet. I want you to feel like the way, like, you have, a sort of personal connection to me and I to you, and this is going to help with that, hopefully. But yeah, so I want to start doing this on a weekly basis, every Sunday. I'm filming this on a Sunday right now. Normally I'll be filming it a couple of days in advance, but I was way caught up in producing the CORALINE video this week. That took up so much of my time. I mean, I moved into this apartment last weekend. My parents and Lauren and a couple of friends were a huge help, moving furniture up the stairs, stuff like that, getting things unpacked, getting settled. I give Lauren 100% credit with making this new place that I'm living feel more than just a place that I'm living, but it actually feels like a home, and I haven't felt like I had a home in a really long time. As much as I enjoyed Florida, it didn't feel like a home to me. It felt like a place that I was staying. And I was like, this is the time that I'm going to be focusing on the channel and pretty much just doing that with all of my free time. And that is what I did. I produced content pretty consistently. I'd say living down in Florida got me into that consistent weekly basis schedule that I was trying so desperately to get into when I was in Illinois. And I just couldn't do it because I'd be distracted or tempted to do other things with friends, family members, etc. And down there was just very few distractions. It was just me, my content, and focusing on improving my back with my physical therapist. And I do have some updates on that if you guys are interested. So yeah, to kind of wrap up that section, basically just expect more. Make sure to check the Patreon every week, because even though you're setting aside money to give to me, I also am setting aside a certain amount of time to start making this a full-fledged, badass Patreon podcast, everything along those lines. And it sucks when I upload, I do 2 takes of a podcast that takes a half hour to film, and then I see that 8 people viewed it when there's over 100 people contributing on the Patreon. It's just, it feels weird. It makes me feel a little sad because, and I do think that that's my fault for not uploading consistently, but I want you guys to know when the content's coming so you can check it out. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. I wish my voice didn't crack so much. So, some of you guys, I get a lot of comments for, why don't you upload a blooper reel? It'd be really funny, yada yada. I'm like, most of my bloopers consist of my voice cracking at very inopportune times, like at the end of a really long line that I just recorded perfectly in one take, and then all of a sudden my voice goes like this. I'm like, motherfucker. It's so frustrating, and I don't feel like those bloopers are very fun, but I could be wrong. Shout out to my boy Brandon, my boy and my brother, best friend of since I was 4 or 5 years old. Gave me that cool Yeti cup for being in his groomsman party. Is that what you call it? Is it a bridal party? I was one of his groomsmen in his wedding, and that was the gift. It was a cool personalized Yeti, and I use that thing pretty much every single day and while I'm filming, obviously. So, moving on. Finally settled in the new place. Gonna start doing this consistently. And I think another benefit of doing it consistently will be I get to do what I initially wanted to when I started doing the podcast I get to talk about the actual content that I'm making, some stuff that I wanted to talk about but didn't have the time to in the videos that I put out this week, and talk about the content that I'm going to be putting out, because I have to start doing my upload schedule again for you guys. And because you know what the upload schedule is going to be, I can talk about the videos coming up without worrying about someone from Screen Rant seeing the video and stealing it for their channel. Because as we all know, while I feel like legally I'm not allowed to say that they stole any of my content, I don't want to get another email from their lawyer, but I can't help but feel like they were inspired by mine, being that they used the exact same pictures in their thumbnails and also called their videos the messed up origins of. But I digress. It'll be nice to talk to you guys kind of uncensored, unfiltered, and see where it goes. So yeah, this week, I'm actually today also working on the CORALINE video. I just wrote up to the chapter 7, finished writing through chapter 7 in the script, and I'm pretty happy with how it's going. Right now I'm having a hard time figuring out where exactly I need to put the, like how I need to structure everything. That's always kind of hard. Normally it kind of comes to me in like an epiphany, sort of. Why did I say that so weird? In an epiphany, where I'm like, oh my God, like this kind of has to do with that, and I can segue from this point to that point, and it'll be seamless. But this time it's like I have 2 parts of the video where I can dive into the bedlam, not the bedlam, motherfucker. That's what I called it in the part 1. I called the beldam the bedlam, the witch, the beldam. I called her the bedlam. And I got a lot of correction comments on that. Luckily, unlike the corrective comments on the Mythology Explained series, everybody was extremely cordial, extremely polite. They were like, hey, mistakes happen, no worries. But I have to address that error in this video. And I feel like I need to address it in the beginning, but because I'm going to be calling her the beldam throughout the whole thing, and I don't want people to be watching the video and be like, oh, so now he's calling it the right thing. And then at the end, be like, oh, now he's addressing the correction. So I feel like I need to correct it right in the beginning. But normally, like, if I'm going into detail about my correction and what the beldam actually is, which it turns out is just a old, ugly woman, sometimes old, always ugly, and also a witch, I feel like when I get into that definition, typically that would be the opportune time to go into the lore behind the beldam. However, I don't want to go into the lore without breaking down the rest of the story, because there are some points where the lore connects to the story in parts of the story that I haven't discussed in part 1. So it's a little bit like, do I mention it here? Do I mention it there? Like I definitely need to do the correction at the beginning. But I also don't want people to think like, oh, he's doing another thing where he's not giving all the details now, so people stay until the end of the video. I don't want to be that type of creator. Those types of creators annoy me. But in my heart of hearts, it feels like that would be the best time to mention all of the lore behind the beldam. So we'll see about that. I don't know. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the correction, talk about the rest of the book, then go into the author Neil Gaiman's inspiration, and while doing that, talk about the poem that may or may not have inspired his creation of the beldam, like his version of it, per se. Yeah, I think that is what I'm going to do. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it makes more sense to do it that way. But yeah, the writing CORALINE process has been pretty interesting, I won't lie. Like, first off, the book, I love the book. I've read the book twice now, and I have skimmed it several times while writing the script to make sure that I don't have any glaring errors. How ironic is that? And I really, really love the book. But the movie, I can't really say this in the video because I don't want to tick off any of the diehard CORALINE fans. But the movie, I'm not as big of a fan of. I didn't want to cover it for the longest time because I straight up do not like Tim Burton films. I don't like Nightmare Before Christmas, and I have no interest in seeing Corpse Bride or anything related to it. I don't like the stop motion. I don't like the spookiness of it. I also don't like, what do you call it? Edward Scissorhands. I think that's a Tim Burton movie. If not, it's a Johnny Depp movie, that's for sure. I don't want to see like Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Like that shit just has no appeal to me. I don't care about the spookiness of certain things. Like I like horror, I like suspense, I like thrillers, but I don't like the like making it spookier and weirder than it actually has to be. And that is kind of how I feel about the entire Coraline movie. Is there's a lot of parts of the book that they changed for the movie to give it that fucking vibe. And it's not even a Tim Burton movie. So that's kind of what I was getting at, was it's a Henry Selick movie, who was actually the director of Nightmare Before Christmas and maybe a few other Tim Burton movies. I'm not totally sure, but it has that exact same animation and art style that I just fucking cannot stand. And it bleeds into the story where, like, the character Wybie is not in the book at all, but they added him because the plot needed to be longer. The plot was only going to be like 45 minutes long if they followed the book exactly. So I do understand having to take some creative liberties with it. But so they add this other character, and that I'm totally fine with. But the character is just like so annoying and dumb looking to me. Like, why are his hands skeleton gloves? Why is he wearing a fucking trench coat? Why is he like hunched over and like always... Did you hear that crack? Maybe you didn't, but my neck totally cracked. Why is he always have his head like this? Like, ooh, I don't know. Blah, blah, Coraline, did you find this doll? You see the doll? Like, something about it like really irks me. I don't know what it is. I don't think it would irk me if I didn't have to watch it, but the fact that I have to watch it and that is the style of it, I'm just like, God damn it. You could have done this. The book is spooky, don't get me wrong, but you could have done this and not made it so like over the top Halloween-y. You know what I mean? Like, the book is just scary. It's not Halloween-esque, and that is the vibe that the movie gives off. I'm also not a huge fan of Halloween. The reason for that is because it started at a very young age. I had a very terrible Halloween, which it's a story that I'm not going to get into in this episode of the podcast because no one's going to see it, but maybe an AMA or maybe when I start doing podcasts for the whole public. But I had a really shitty Halloween and back in like 6th grade. And also, like, I hate that every time I get a calendar, like back in the day, not anymore, but when I used to buy calendars, I would be super excited about, like, you know, you'd go through the months and you're like, what picture is going to be my birthday month? And mine was always Halloween because my birthday is October 23rd, upcoming, by the way, for those who don't know. It's this Wednesday, so get ready for that. I don't know why you would have to get ready. I mean, just get ready to say happy birthday to me. But, yeah, I was always disappointed. I'm like, great, pumpkins, black cat, spooky witch flying in front of the moon. Yay, exciting. And then to see how excited everyone gets, how hyped people are like, Halloween's my favorite holiday. How the fuck is it your favorite holiday? After an adult, there's nothing to it besides dressing in costumes. Like, what is so fun about that? I don't know. I don't get it. Lauren really likes Halloween, and I don't understand it at all. I'm gonna, her and I are actually dressing up. This is like my first time in several years. Like, I think freshman year of college, maybe sophomore year, where I am actually gonna be in a costume. Her and I are gonna be JD and Elliot from Scrubs at this Halloween birthday party that I'm throwing at my place on Saturday. And we're going to be, for those who don't know, Scrubs, the show about the doctors, we're going to be handing out shots. You know, get it? Shots. Like, got a prescription here. It looks like you need 2 shots of Ireland's finest. I don't know, something like that. It's going to be fun. I am excited to get part 2 out this week because, like I said, I really did like the book a lot. It was very, very good. But I am excited to stop talking about the movie because, like, as I'm writing the script, I just have the movie playing on mute in the background with subtitles on, and I'm just so sick of looking at it. I'm so sick of looking at the art style, at seeing all of the unnecessary creative liberties that they took. like, what was it? Like, they changed the Miss Spink and Miss Forcible's theater performance. They add in, like, some musical numbers that had fucking nothing to do with the book, story, anything. They added the annoying YB character, all of it. Like, I'm sick of dealing with that. Sorry to bash the movie. I hope you guys aren't too disappointed. I mean, it's, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, and like, if you like it, that's totally cool. But it's just not my thing. It's really just looking at the movie. It's not my cup of tea. So I'm excited to get that out though this week. And then next week, I think I'm going to do an Urban Legends episode. I think I'm going to talk about Bloody Mary, who is a ghost spirit demon figure that I was actually terrified of growing up as a kid. So I think that's going to be really interesting. I'm going to talk about her and see what I can find about the origins of standing in front of a mirror and repeating something over and over and over again, and you know, some demon character figure popping up, whether it's Biggie Smalls or Bloody Mary, you know. So yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode of Solo Radio number 5, or just episode of Solo Radio. We're about 27 minutes into it, and I don't know how many of you are actually going to watch to this point. If you did, make sure to comment that you did so down below. Comment the phrase toaster strudel. Use that in a sentence somehow, and that way I'll know that you made it to this point. One last time before I go, I'm sorry for the inconsistent uploading. That won't be happening again anytime soon. Now that I'm finally moved in and established, I have a pretty firm grasp on my schedule. Granted, I am going to have to work 7 days a week for the next month or two to be at a point where I'm actually happy with, where like I'm producing content in advance, which has always been my goal, and I finally have gathered my bearings enough to get there. So yeah, that won't be happening again, and I will be seeing you guys next week. I'll have some exciting stuff to report, hopefully. I'll let you know how the filming creation process for CORALINE went, and any random interesting tidbits that I've found about Bloody Mary before I end up making that video. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your patience. I love you with all my heart, and stay safe out there.